How's it going, everybody? Dr. Rob here, physical therapist and owner of Ascent Physical Therapy on Long Island, New York, bringing you another episode of Tactical Tuesday. And tonight we're talking a little bit about knowing when enough is too enough, whether that's with your training, your everyday life, and knowing when you need to take a rest and take a load off. So I hope everybody is doing well. I hope everybody enjoyed the Super Bowl. I hope everybody enjoyed that halftime show. Wasn't it great? Jay-Z's doing a great job making sure that everything stays nice and well with the halftime shows. And also, I hope everybody had a great Valentine's Day, whoever celebrated. I hope everybody is staying warm, staying healthy, and most of all, getting out there and doing their best and staying fit. I hope if you are listening to this tonight, I do want to let you all know that I am having a webinar coming up sometime within the next month. Date is yet to be confirmed, but we are working on getting that set up for you guys. It's going to be about shin splints. If you do have shin splints, if you're dealing with shin splints, if you know somebody who's been dealing with shin splints, please feel free to comment down me with an exclamation point down below, and I'll make sure that you get notification of that webinar when it is coming out, and it will be broadcast over Zoom. At least that is what I'm currently doing. If anything does change, of course, I will keep you updated. This will be everything you need to know about shin splints, what it is, where it comes from, what it can turn into if it doesn't get taken care of, what could be causing it, and what are the things that we can do in order to keep it away for good. So we're going to continue talking about that over the next month or so, just in preparation as we lead up to it. But at the same time, we are going to keep serving you as always. So let's get into what we're going to be talking about tonight, and that is knowing when enough is too much. So in endurance athletics and endurance sports, running, cycling, even in triathlon especially as we start getting into the Ironman and half Ironman distances, there is that still trend of athletes, especially on the amateur side of things, where they always feel like they need to do more in order to be better, feeling like they always have to continue to be exercising in order to make sure that they have the fitness in order to be able to finish and compete at the level that they want to train at, feeling that they need to continue to push themselves harder and harder in order for them to achieve the time that they need to. And tonight I'm going to tell you that that is not necessarily the case, and there is a reason for that. Part of it is we're not elite athletes. Elite athletes have, especially those that we see on the circuit who are competing and who are winning these races, who are doing very well, but are training 20, 30, sometimes 40-hour training weeks. But at the same time, they not necessarily don't have day jobs. They don't necessarily have the full-time commitment of a outside life. Sometimes they are just all the time they're training. Their one focus is making sure that they're training so that they can compete, they can win, and get money through that, as well, whether it's the race itself, sponsorships, other deals that they have with companies in order to get gear, whatever it is. They have better training loads. They have better ability to absorb the load that they're taking based off of the life that we live. Because we are amateur athletes, because we have daytime jobs that are 40-hour work weeks, plus, doing a training schedule on top of that, which could be another 40 hours a week if you are doing an Ironman distance. It may not be the best for you, and that is based off of how you feel, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So when enough is enough. So basically, one thing that you need to focus on is feeling how you are doing while you're in workouts, before you go into workouts, and after your workouts. This isn't just making sure that you're getting enough nutrition during. It's part of that, especially, but also while you're going through that, making sure that your stress is in check, making sure that your eating is in check, making sure that your drinking is in check. So making sure that you're drinking enough water and staying hydrated. And at the same time, also making sure that you are able to function and be able to sleep enough at night so that when you do wake up the next day, you feel rejuvenated and recovered. If at the time that you are training and you're continuing to train as you're going through your training schedule and you're focusing on getting towards your race, as you notice that you're building up, especially if you have a coach, if you're noticing that there's a buildup within your programming and you're noticing that you're either not recovering as much, you're feeling more sluggish, you're noticing that you're not able to hit the times that you are planned on hitting, or if you notice that you are feeling more achy, or you're feeling like you're breaking down a little bit, or you're noticing that you're a little bit more sore than usual, it's maybe a point where you're already too far gone. This may be a point where you're at the point where you're not necessarily looking towards injury, but you're looking at a diminishing return. When we look at the amount of training hours, if we had a graph in front of us and we look at the amount of training hours that you can do versus the amount of effort that you're putting in on top of it with another aspect of how many about the intensity and also the performance that you are doing as well, we notice that there is an improvement because the more that we do train, to an extent, there is a better level of performance. We do need to be able to train for a certain amount of hours on the bike in order to do the 112 miles on the bike when we're doing an Ironman or a half Ironman distance. We need to be able to swim a certain distance in order for us to be able to swim the appropriate distance for those distances. We need to be able to run. It's all the same thing. We do need to train to a certain degree in order to hit what our goals are or the race parameters. But at the same time, there is a point where we're doing too much, noticing that there is that diminishing returns where we're not performing as well. So being aware of all of that and being on top of how you're feeling and noticing it, and not just focusing on what's on the plan, that I have to do what's on the plan and that I have to nail this, otherwise I'm not going to be able to do it. There is a point where you have to sit back and always look and talk to yourself. Talk to your coach, especially if you're working with a coach, and figuring out whether this is appropriate for you. Whether the next workout is what you need to do, or do we need to scale back, or do we need to go in a different direction? So, for example, there is ways to still get the same amount of level of intensity and the same level of workout without doing as much volume. As we're getting closer to races, we shouldn't be continuing to increase volume, especially as we're doing more and more load. We should be focusing on increasing load in a different way of increasing intensity or more race-specific performance rather than increasing volume. I do want to speak about one of my current clients. He's been training this past 6+ months for an Ironman distance triathlon down in Texas, and he has been working with me in order to make sure that he stays healthy throughout. When I saw him last week, he told me that I saw him. I just walked in, asked him how he's doing, and he kind of gave me like a 1,000-yard stare a little bit, and I was just like, "What's wrong?" And he said, my training level just went up. My coach, she wants me to start working out 3 times a day. She wants me to increase my volume a little bit more, and she wants me to do other plyometric activities and strength activities on top of it. And I asked him, I was like, "Oh, how do you feel about that?" And he said, "I feel like I can do it, but if there's any more, I can't do any more. Between my job, between my training, I can't do any more. I don't have anything else that I can do." And I understand that's a lot of endurance athletes out there who are going for those higher level distances. It does take a lot of training. It does feel like a second job that you're doing, but at the same time, it does not fit everybody for the plans that are out there. The mentalities that are out there can be something that hinders you in your performance rather than improves it. And that's the same thing that's going in this case, because the next things I asked him was, "How's your stress level?" He said, "Crappy. Work's been terrible right now. We've been extra busy at work. I've been having tons of emails I need to answer, more than usual when I'm working outside my hours." I asked him how his sleep was, and he said, "Awful." And I asked him, "Why is it awful? Is it because of the training that you're doing? You're feeling like you can't get full rest? You don't feel like you're recovering in the morning?" And he says, "No, it's not because of that. It's because of work. My work is falling into my sleep, and because it's carrying over into my sleep, I can't sleep. I can't rest. I can't recover. I'm feeling more stiff. I'm feeling achy." And I asked him how he's eating. He says, "My eating's fine. I'm eating. I'm drinking. I'm fine with that. But those other 2 parameters of not being able to sleep appropriately and his stress level not being managed can lead to breakdown, can lead to issues down the road, especially when he's training 3 times a day, whether he's doing riding, running, or swimming in those three training cycles during that day, or if he's doing strength training, or he's doing a recovery day." I asked him what his recovery day currently looks like, and he said a light swim and a mobility day. And that doesn't seem like a rest day to me. I think for his program and what he's doing, it should be a full rest day. But that's something he has to talk with his coach about, something that he has to make sure, because he contacted me yesterday saying that his knee is now feeling sore. And this is the point where he's crossed that diminishing return. He's starting to work into injury, and we are 8 weeks out from his Ironman, and I need to keep him healthy as his physical therapist and keeping him well. So this is something that I'm working with him. It's something that's specific and individual to everybody's needs, especially just like yours. I know I've been talking a lot about endurance athletes. This does fall into the parameters of regular everyday people as well, where if you're not used to doing activity and then all of a sudden you do a lot of activity, it can lead to some level of breakdown. There is some level of diminishing returns where you're not recovering or you're not sleeping. The same thing goes if you take on extra work at work, you're stressed out, you're not eating well, you're not sleeping well. This leads into that as well, where there is diminishing returns. You start to be a little bit more achy, you start to have pain, you start to have injury. So make sure that you are being mindful of everything that's going on with what you're doing throughout the day, whether it's your stress, how you're sitting, how you're eating, how you're sleeping, how you're moving. Be mindful of what you're doing, how you're feeling, what you're doing, and how much you're doing. Because if you notice that you're doing too much, it may be too much. And it may be something that you need to sit back on, maybe need to tailor back, maybe need something that you need to adjust a little bit so that you're able to still reach your goal, but at the same time affect how you're doing. So what I would do for my client, if I was his coach, especially talking with him, I would make sure that we're managing his stress a little bit better, figuring out a way for him to get his work done, but at the same time still still complete his training goals. Without giving him the extra stress that he feels, so he's able to sleep. If his nutrition's on point, if his hydration's on point, then I don't necessarily need to worry about that. I just need to worry about his stress from work, and I need to worry about his ability to sleep, so he's able to recover, so he can continue training. I would scale back his training days so that it could still be 3 times a day, even if that does seem like a lot, and that is a lot in most cases. But for an Ironman distance, it may be something that he needs to do because there is multiple disciplines that we do need to train. But at the same time, giving him something that's shorter in duration instead of like 3 or 4 hour bike rides multiple times a week, scaling it back to doing more shorter, intense workouts where he's doing more race specific, whether he's in aero position or if he's focusing on improving his sprints, whether he needs to do a little bit of a sprint during the race in order to pass people, working on different skills because he has the endurance, he has the capacity to do this training stuff that he does. He's competed in a few half marathons already, and he's already doing well with that. So I have no qualms about him being able to complete the distances that he's able to do, but the intensity may be able to do that. So he has more time throughout the day to complete his work tasks, so he has less stress, so that he's able to sleep better, so that he can get through that half marathon and get through it healthy. I hope that was helpful for any of my endurance athlete friends out there who are listening to this. If you are dealing with any kind of stress, sleeping issues related to training, or if you're feeling like your training is not working for you and you feel like the training that you are doing, it seems like a lot or is too much for you, or you feel like you're not getting the results that you expect from your training, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to sit down with you and talk about everything that's going on with your training right now and figure out what's the best goals for you to set so that you're able to improve not only your performance, but feel happier, feel like you are more confident that you're able to achieve your goals while at the same time not being stressed out, not being able to sleep better. I hope that helps. If you do have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below. Please feel free to share this out with anybody that could use this advice. And I hope to see you guys next Tuesday on Tactical Tuesday. Have a great night, everybody.